Have you noticed how a single glance can yank your mood like a leash? How a delayed reply, a clipped tone, or a careless comment can pull you out of yourself? We spend whole days tossed by small waves. The pull is so familiar, we mistake it for normal life. Yet the Buddha's warning hums underneath it all. You are not punished for anger. You are punished by anger. The same is true of overcaring. When we give our attention to every nudge, we hand strangers the keys to our inner house. This is not a call to be cold. It is a call to be sovereign, to become the person the storm cannot move. There is a difference between a heart that cares and a mind that clings. One nourishes, the other knots. Caring indiscriminately is like opening every window in a sandstorm and wondering why your floor is buried. A wiser love asks, what deserves entry? Buddhist teaching names the trouble plainly attachment, not only to people or objects, but to being seen as good, right, important. We fasten ourselves to approval the way vines chase a fence, and then we confuse the fence for the sky. Picture this. A small mountain village keeps a mirror in its plaza, a polished brass plate no bigger than a dinner bowl. Each dawn, a caretaker sets it upright so that the valley sun can fill it. The mirror is old and easily smudged by curious hands. One summer, a traveling troupe arrives and crowds swell. Children touch the brass merchants dusted with their cloth performers, angle it to catch their own reflections. Every mark dulls the image of the sky. At noon, the caretaker returns, not with another mirror, but with a bowl of still water. Look here, he says, placing the bowl beside the brass. The mountains appear in the water with startling clarity. The mirror works. He smiles when no one grabs it. Your mind is that mirror. The more you grasp at every opinion, rumor, and expectation, the less of the sky you can see. We live as if we are obliged to pick up every rope thrown at us trends, gossip the endless urgency of timelines, the ache of old memory. They seem light at first. Over years they chafe. What no one teaches us as children is that we may let go. Release is not betrayal. It is intelligent mercy. Ask each morning as simple practice, what truly belongs to me to carry today? Not everything unkind requires your defense. Not every silence requires your rescue. Not every demand is your duty. Consider a potter at her wheel. Clay wants to wobble. If she responds to every wobble with frantic hands, she mangles the bowl. But if she holds center, gentle pressure, steady breath, the form finds itself. The world's wobble is constant. Your steadiness is a choice. The modern machine rewards hyper-responsiveness. Answer, now perform, now explain, now. But wisdom is often a longer exhale. Silence is not weakness when it protects alignment. You do not owe your peace as a toll for passing traffic. So how do we move from reflex to poise? Start small on manageable ground. Choose one arena: messages, meetings, family dialogues, where you will not react on first impulse. Insert a deliberate space, 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out. Feel your feet. Let the initial surge crest and fall. If a response is still needed, let it rise from clarity, not from the nervous system's siren. Notice what happens. 9 out of 10 fires die without oxygen. The 10th reveals where a boundary belongs. Peace comes not when you stop caring, but when you care rightly. Caring rightly means caring from center. It is compassion without self-erasure, generosity that does not raid tomorrow's strength. A useful test is time. Will this matter in a week, a season, a year? Much of what tangles us would not survive that calendar. Another test is alignment. Does this action reflect my values or my fear? If fear is driving, your hands will grip. If values lead, your hands can open. There is also the quiet tyranny of the past. Old stories request tribute, the teacher's harsh grade, the parents' withheld praise, the breakup replayed at midnight. They return like debt collectors asking for attention. But memory is not a court order. When an old scene knocks, greet it as a visitor, not a king. Let it sit in the hallway. Bow to its lesson. Deny it your throne. As the Buddha taught, thoughts are events, not essence. A cloud can darken the day without owning the sky. You might worry that loosening your grip will make you careless. The opposite occurs. When we stop bleeding attention into noise, attention grows potent. Presence deepens. That extra wattage of awareness makes kindness cleaner and action sharper. You speak fewer words but truer ones. You move slower but waste nothing. You begin to see the person frowning may be tired, not hostile. The silent reply may be busyness, not disdain. Your mind no longer stitches hurt from gaps in the fabric. Craft a daily ritual to anchor this shift. Brew tea and taste it all the way down. Walk a short path and listen for the farthest sound you can hear. Wash a single bowl and feel the warmth on your knuckles. These are not quaint distractions. They are fidelity to the present. They teach your nervous system that safety can be simple and near. Reactivity feeds on vagueness and future fear. Presence is precise and local. Another practice, the gate of two questions. Before you enter a conflict, ask, is it kind? Is it necessary? If your answer to both is not clear, wait. Waiting is not avoidance. It is cultivation. A farmer does not tug at seedlings to make them taller. He tends the conditions and trusts the growth. Your mind is the same field. Make conditions kind. Let outcomes be seasonal. There will be days you fail. The leash will jerk. The hook will catch, the mirror will smudge. Do not turn failure into identity. Gently clean the brass. Refill the bowl. Begin again at the next breath. Every beginning is a liberation from the last moment's mistake. The path is not a straight road, but a series of returns. What about injustice, true harm, the places where a voice must rise? Right caring does not mean silence in the face of suffering. It means speaking from stability, not spite. Choosing effective action over theatrical reaction. The Buddha did not teach passivity. He taught wise response. Let your no be clear and clean. Let your yes be wholehearted. Let both be free of the need to perform. One day, you will notice a change so humble it almost escapes. Mention the world will still gesture for your leash, and your collar will not tighten. The same weather moves through, but your climate has changed. You are becoming the still pond that reflects the mountain without swallowing stones. You are becoming the potter whose bowl holds shape because her breath is steady. You are becoming the caretaker who knows how to polish brass and pour water, not for praise, but for clarity. Keep cutting the ropes that pull you outward, the rope of hurried approval, the rope of argument. No one is asking you to win the rope of narratives that cast you forever as defendant. Keep the ropes that pull you inward, the rope of practice, the rope of honest rest, the rope of values that do not wobble with fashion. Each cut is a kindness. Each kept cord is a vow. And when someone asks, who gave you permission not to care about everything you can answer without heat? Awareness did. It is not indifference. It is intimacy with what matters. It is not withdrawal. It is rightful belonging. In caring rightly, you become less grabbable, less yankable, less available to every stray wind. You become quietly untouchable where it counts. Ahead lies another knot, to loosen the belief that control equals safety, the exhausting chase to chain the unchainable. For now, Let today's lessons settle like silt at the bottom of a clear bowl. Watch how in the unstirring the mountain appears. There's a peculiar comfort in control. The illusion that if you hold tightly enough, plan precisely enough, anticipate deeply enough, you can outsmart life itself. We tighten our grip around time, around people, around the smallest details, hoping our force will guarantee safety. But in truth, the more you grip, the less you hold. The more you fight to shape life, the more it slips through your fingers like wind through a clenched fist. Control is seductive because it promises predictability. It gives the ego something to cling to, a feeling of mastery over chaos. But the Buddha compared such grasping to trying to bind the wind with ropes. We exhaust ourselves chasing clouds with chains. No matter how carefully we weave them, the clouds will drift unbothered beyond reach. The problem isn't that life changes. The problem is that we believe it shouldn't. Imagine a young boy on a hill clutching a kite. The wind shifts unpredictably, sometimes fierce, sometimes still. Frustrated, he yanks the string, commanding the sky to obey. The kite dives nose first into the earth. Then from behind him, an old woman's voice breaks the silence. Try loosening your hand. The boy hesitates, then releases the tension in the string. The wind catches it anew, lifting it higher and higher until it steadies, balanced between effort and surrender. The woman smiles and walks away, her words trailing behind like soft wind. The kite doesn't need your control, it needs your cooperation. That is the wisdom of the open hand. Life responds not to force, but to flow. To resist the river is to drown in your own effort. To swim with it is to discover that surrender is not defeat, it's intelligence. In Buddhist teaching, this is the art of right effort, not striving to bend reality, but acting in harmony with it, to row with the current rather than against it. To do your part with clarity, then trust the rest to causes and conditions. The wise farmer tills the soil, plants the seed, waters the field, and then he waits. He doesn't shout at the rain to fall or command the sun to shine. He trusts that the universe in its silent intelligence knows what to do next. Control is the ego's disguise for fear. It is the body's attempt to protect itself from uncertainty. But uncertainty is the nature of all things. When you cling to a fixed outcome, you are fighting impermanence itself, and that battle was lost before it began. The Buddha's words whisper like a breeze through your ribs, let go or be dragged. A potter understands this instinctively. She centers her clay on the wheel and begins to shape it. If she presses too hard, the bowl collapses. Too little, and it won't form. Her mastery lies in listening to the clay, to the spin, to the delicate balance between control and allowance. Life, too, requires that same listening. The bowl doesn't obey the potter, it collaborates with her hands. What if life is not meant to be managed, but met? What if the task is not to manipulate outcomes, but to meet each moment with the precision of presence? Imagine a lighthouse keeper by the sea. He cannot calm the storm or quiet the waves, yet he polishes the glass, refills the oil, and keeps the lamp lit. Ships find their way home, not because he commands the ocean, but because he stays faithful to his light. That is true control, not over life, but over how you meet it. In mindfulness practice, we learn the difference between influence and ownership. You can influence effort, but you cannot own results. You can influence intention, but not reception. The modern mind blurs this line, insisting that effort must equal outcome, that doing your best guarantees your desire. But karma doesn't work like arithmetic, it works like weather. 1,000 winds converge to make one breeze. The most skillful sailor is not the one who demands a certain wind, but the one who adjusts his sails to whichever arrives. Take a moment to breathe into that truth. Inhale your effort. Exhale the result. Every breath you take is a masterclass in letting go. The lungs do not hoard air. They release what they cannot keep. Imagine the chaos if they didn't. Yet we hold our emotions, plans, and expectations longer than air, suffocating under the weight of what was never ours to keep. Ask yourself, what am I clenching right now? A conversation that didn't go your way, a plan that keeps collapsing, an image of who you think you should be by now. Whatever it is, loosen your grip. Let the wind re-enter your hands. The tighter you hold, the more pain you create, not because the world is cruel, but because your hand is closed. There's an old Zen story of a monk who carried a cup of tea up a mountain path. The cup was full to the brim, and the wind was wild. Each gust threatened to spill it, but the monk never hurried, never shielded the cup with his other hand. When asked how he managed not to spill, he replied, "By not caring whether I do." That is the secret of serenity, full attention without anxious attachment. To care deeply, but to hold lightly. Control at its root is resistance. It says, this moment is wrong. Life should be different. Acceptance says, this is what's here. Let me meet it well. You suffer not because the event is unbearable, but because your resistance to it is. When you stop fighting the storm, you begin to notice its rhythm. Sometimes what looks like chaos is simply the dance of causes fulfilling themselves. Try a small experiment next time plans collapse before reaching for your phone or your frustration. Whisper to yourself, let this be part of it. Let the missed train, the delayed reply, the broken glass all belong. See how peace returns, not by fixing the moment, but by widening enough to hold it. It takes great strength to stop controlling. Weakness clings. Strength relaxes. A weak mind says, I must make this work. A strong heart says, I will give my best and let life unfold. One burns itself out in tension. The other burns gently like a lamp steady through the wind. You might wonder, if I let go, who will take care of everything? The answer is simpler than you think. Life takes care of itself when you stop interrupting it. The sun rises without your permission. Your heart beats without your command. Your breath returns even after you forget it. The same intelligence that moves the tide moves through you. Trust it. Try this practice each morning. Sit for 2 minutes and place your hands palms open on your knees. Whisper inwardly, today, I will act with clarity and release the rest. Feel the subtle difference between intention and insistence. Intention gives power. Insistence drains it. You will still plan, still act, still love, but without the invisible war against what is. Over time, you'll notice that life flows more smoothly, not because it has changed, but because your friction with it has eased. Control is friction. Surrender is lubrication. One grinds the gears, the other lets them hum. The old habit of micromanaging every detail will slowly fall away, replaced by a quiet confidence that whatever arises, you can meet it. And then one day, without trying, you'll find yourself smiling in the middle of uncertainty, not because you figured everything out, but because you no longer need to. You'll realize that peace was never the reward for controlling life. It was the reward for ceasing to. Let this truth land softly. You are not the puppeteer of fate. You are the witness of unfolding. The river does not need your hand to find the sea. As you live from that understanding, something miraculous happens. You stop mistaking the current for chaos. You begin to see the intelligence in what you once called loss, the beauty in what you once called failure. You become like a tree that sways but does not break, whose roots go deeper each time the wind blows. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself one gentle question. What if I stopped fighting the current for just one day? Maybe the river has been trying to carry you all along. Tomorrow we'll explore how the world teaches us to care too much, to mistake approval for love, applause for worth, and how to wake from that spell. But for now, breathe, loosen the string, open your hand, and let your kite rise. You were not born looking for applause. You were born breathing wide-eyed and whole. Somewhere along the way, the world handed you a mirror and said, "Only when they smile back will you know who you are." From that moment, your reflection became hostage to other people's eyes. Every nod, every word of praise became proof of existence. And so began the silent addiction, not to love itself, but to the performance of being loved. This is the oldest spell in society's book, Conditional Worth. It whispers, "Be acceptable, and you'll be safe." We learn to trade authenticity for approval, spontaneity for strategy. The child who once danced for the joy of motion now moves only when someone is watching. The laughter that once erupted freely is measured against an audience's reaction. The cost of belonging becomes self-betrayal. Imagine walking through a grand theater where everyone is performing, smiling on cue, clapping at the right moments, reciting lines they didn't write. You wander backstage and find a single door marked silence. You push it open and discover a vast empty space, no lights, no applause, just air. That room is your true self. It's terrifying at first because no one is there to validate it. But stay long enough and you'll hear something more intimate than approval. Your own voice, uncoached, unfiltered. In Buddhist thought, suffering often begins when we mistake illusion for truth. The illusion here is that approval equals love, that validation equals safety. But love does not need witnesses, and safety cannot be built from other people's moods. The Buddha taught that clinging to external signs of worth is like chasing your reflection in water. Every grasp creates ripples, and the image you want keeps disappearing. Ask yourself, whose script am I still performing? Is it the expectations of parents who wanted success more than serenity? The algorithm whispering that happiness looks like followers and filters? The cultural rulebook that says your value depends on productivity? None of these scripts were written for your peace. They were written to keep the play running. Freedom, then, is not rebellion for its own sake. It is remembering. Remembering who you were before the conditioning began. The Buddha called it returning to the original mind, the one that sees things as they are, not as they are branded. It doesn't mean rejecting the world. It means seeing the costume and choosing whether to wear it. Here's a simple practice. Whenever you feel the itch to please, pause and ask, am I acting from truth or from hunger? If it's hunger, breathe. Don't move. Let the craving for approval pass through you like smoke through an open window. It will try to tell you that silence equals invisibility. But silence is where authenticity gathers strength. Think of a musician who once played for the joy of sound, but now performs for applause. Each night, the clapping grows louder, yet the joy quieter. One evening, he leaves the stage mid-song and walks out into the night carrying only his instrument. He plays beneath the open sky. No audience, no lighting, no stage, just wind. The notes are softer, imperfect, but alive. For the first time in years, he hears himself. That moment is enlightenment, the end of the performance, and the return of music. This doesn't mean you must isolate yourself from the world. It means you must stop outsourcing your identity to it. Society will always have opinions. It's what society does. But opinions are echoes, not instructions. Let them pass like distant thunder. Your task is to keep the lamp of self-understanding lit, even when the crowd moves away. Try journaling at the end of each day with 2 columns. On the left, write every action you took to gain approval. The smile you forced, the opinion you hid, the silence you swallowed. On the right, write one thing you did, purely from authenticity, however small. Maybe you took a walk without documenting it. Maybe you spoke an unpopular truth. Maybe you simply said no. Watch over weeks as the right column grows. That's not rebellion. That's awakening. When the world demands that you prove your worth, remember the still pond. Approval is like stones thrown across its surface. Each splash distorts the reflection, and you can't see clearly until the ripples fade. Let them fade. Sit long enough, and the water will show you the sky again. Many fear that authenticity will cost them belonging, but false belonging is already a form of loneliness. To be surrounded by people who love your mask is to starve your soul. Real connection requires nakedness, the courage to say, "Here I am imperfect, but real." When you live from that place, something unexpected happens. The right people find you, not the ones drawn to your performance, but the ones drawn to your presence. Approval is a mirage. Authenticity is an oasis. The first quenches thirst for a moment. The second nourishes you for life. The path from one to the other is not loud. It is a series of quiet choices to speak honestly, to rest without guilt, to listen more than you perform. There will be days you relapse into performance. You'll catch yourself rehearsing lines before a conversation, adjusting your face for comfort, waiting for feedback before feeling enough. When that happens, smile gently. You are not failing, you are noticing. Awareness is the undoing of the spell. Each time you catch yourself, the strings loosen. Each time you return to your center, you become lighter. Picture yourself standing before a still lake at dawn. Mist drifts across its surface. You throw one pebble, the approval you sought, and watch the rings expand, then fade. The surface clears again. What's reflected there now is not someone the world built, but someone who was always here. The journey out of the matrix of approval isn't about shouting, "I don't care." It's about whispering, "I remember." You remember the self that existed before applause, before criticism, before the need to perform. You remember that silence is not emptiness. It's the home of your real voice. So the next time the world holds up a mirror and asks, "Do you like what you see?" smile softly and say, "I no longer need to ask." Because the truest freedom is not being admired. It is being unshaken by admiration. Tomorrow we step deeper from seeking approval to mastering detachment, learning how to hold life with an open palm, to feel deeply, yet not drown. But for now, close your eyes and breathe this truth. You are enough without applause. The show is over. The silence is your encore. You've been taught all your life to hold on. Hold on to dreams, they said. Hold on to love. Hold on to what you believe in. And while there is beauty in commitment, there is also quiet suffering in attachment, in the desperate clutching that confuses care with control. Detachment does not mean you stop loving. It means you stop bleeding for what was never yours to keep. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast lake with a small bird resting in your hands. Its feathers are soft, its heartbeat wild against your skin. You want to feel it longer, so you close your fingers tighter. The bird flutters, gasps, and you panic. The harder you grip, the more it suffers. Then you realize the only way to keep its song alive is to open your palm. That's detachment, the courage to let what's living remain free. Most people misunderstand detachment. They think it's coldness, indifference, emotional numbness. But true detachment is the opposite. It is intimacy without ownership, love without demand. It's the ability to witness beauty without needing to cage it. The Buddha called this upekkha, equanimity, a heart that stays balanced amid both loss and gain, praise and blame. When you practice detachment, you begin to see that suffering never comes from things themselves, but from your relationship to them, from the way you cling to how they should be. The flower withers, the season changes, the friend drifts away, and you ache not because impermanence is cruel, but because you hoped it wouldn't apply to you. Yet impermanence is not an enemy. It's the universe's reminder that nothing is ever truly lost, only transformed. Think of the tides. They rise, they fall. Each wave retreats only to gather strength for another return. If you loved one wave so much you tried to stop it from going back, you'd never see the ocean again. Life asks you to love as the sea does, wholeheartedly without possession. There is a legend from the East of a monk who collected glass bottles. Each one caught the morning light differently, blue, amber, clear. He polished them daily, admiring how the sun played inside them. One day, a strong wind swept through his hut, shattering every bottle. His students expected to find him grieving, but when they arrived, he was sweeping the shards into a basket, humming softly. "Master," they cried, "how can you be calm?" The monk smiled. "Yesterday I enjoyed the sparkle. Today I enjoy the emptiness. Both belong to the same sky." That is the essence of detachment, gratitude without grasping. When we stop insisting that joy must stay forever, we become capable of enjoying it while it's here. Try this practice. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. Bring to mind something or someone you love deeply. Feel the warmth of that love. Then whisper inwardly, "I bless you to be free." Notice the shift. The love doesn't disappear, it expands. It stops being a chain and becomes a current. You will find that true love, when freed, does not diminish, it deepens. Attachment narrows our world. It makes our happiness fragile because it hangs on external conditions. Detachment broadens it. When you stop depending on specific outcomes, you begin to find joy in unexpected places. The texture of sunlight on a wall, the quiet between two songs, the way the wind brushes your sleeve as if to remind you, you are still here. Isn't that enough? To live detached is to live lighter. You still care, but your caring is like water, gentle, adaptable, finding its path around obstacles instead of breaking itself against them. It's the art of soft power. When others rage, you remain centered. When the world shifts, you bend without breaking. It's not easy. The mind clings instinctively. It fears that letting go means losing identity, purpose, connection. But the opposite is true. The more you let go, the more you discover what cannot be lost. Your awareness, your capacity for compassion, your stillness. These are untouchable. In one of the Buddha's parables, a man clings to a burning torch, afraid to drop it into the river below. The fire scorches his hands, but he tells himself, "At least I still have light." Only when he finally lets it fall does he realize the moon was always lighting his way. How often do we do the same, gripping our pain because it's familiar, mistaking endurance for strength? Try loosening the stories you tell yourself. I can't be happy until this happens. I'll be at peace once they understand me. I need this to feel secure. Each statement ties your happiness to a condition. Detachment cuts those ropes gently one by one. It teaches you to say, I prefer this, but I accept that. That single shift from demand to acceptance is liberation. Remember this truth: letting go is not the end of caring. It's the beginning of clarity. When your hands are no longer full of what's dying, they're free to receive what's meant to live. Consider the sky after a storm. The clouds drift apart, revealing a clarity so wide it almost humbles you. That's what detachment feels like. Not emptiness, but spaciousness. Not the absence of feeling, but the absence of fear. So how do you live in this world of constant change without closing your heart? The answer is balance. Hold life as you would. Hold a soap bubble, aware that it's fragile, but still marveling at its colors. When it bursts, don't curse the air. Smile because you got to see it shimmer. In relationships, this balance means you love without trying to possess. In work, you give your best without tying your worth to success. In daily life, you participate fully, but you stop wrestling with what's beyond you. That's not apathy, it's mastery. A Zen teacher once said, "You cannot pick up the truth with clenched fists. The open hand receives more than it can ever seize." Before you sleep tonight, open both palms and imagine everything you're clinging to, resting there. Names, faces, fears, dreams. Then imagine them lifting like petals caught in the wind. Whisper, "May you go where you must. May I stay at peace." Watch what remains, the quiet, the breath, the witness within you. That is what was never fleeting. When you awaken tomorrow, carry that stillness into your day. The traffic may roar, plans may crumble, people may disappoint, but within, you'll feel a calm center untouched by the outer swirl, the open palm that holds nothing, and in that nothingness holds everything. This is the art of detachment, not escape, but exquisite presence, the kind that no one can take from you, because it isn't built on possession. It's built on awareness. Next, we'll explore what happens when you truly stop reacting, when you let the mud settle and the water clear, and how peace rises naturally from the space detachment creates. There comes a point in every seeker's path when they realize that the true battle was never with the world, it was with their own reflex to react. Every harsh word, every delay, every disappointment used to pull you like a marionette string. Now something in you is beginning to pause before the pull. That pause is sacred. It's the space where wisdom grows. Most people live like a shaken snow globe, constantly stirred by events, unable to see clearly through the swirling flakes. Yet clarity doesn't arrive by adding more motion. It appears when everything settles. The Buddha compared the mind to a lake. When the water is still, it reflects the moon perfectly. When agitated, even the brightest moon vanishes in its ripples. The moon hasn't disappeared, only the mind's restlessness hides it. Imagine two travelers walking a dusty road. One runs frantically after every gust of wind, chasing the leaves it carries. The other walks slowly, hands behind his back, watching them drift. The first ends his day, exhausted, his face covered in dust. The second returns with calm eyes and steady breath. The difference between them isn't what they saw, but how deeply they allowed it to move them. The modern world rewards agitation, quick responses, hot takes, instant outrage. We confuse reaction with relevance, noise with meaning. Yet every reaction is a small surrender of peace. Each time you take the bait, your mind spends itself like coins dropped into a bottomless well. Stillness is wealth. Silence is interest. The more you keep, the richer you feel. Non-reactivity doesn't mean apathy. It means mastery. It's not that you don't feel, it's that you don't drown. It's learning to meet a spark without becoming the fire. Picture a candle in a glass lantern. When the wind blows, the flame wavers, but does not go out. The lantern isn't resisting the wind. It simply gives the flame room to dance without being destroyed. This is what your awareness does when you practice non-reactivity. You let life's gusts move through you without letting them extinguish your peace. Next time anger flares, don't rush to suppress it or express it. Sit with it. Imagine anger as thunder rolling across your inner sky. It's loud, yes, but temporary. If you wait, the echo fades. Beneath it, there's stillness, the blue sky that was never gone. Respond only from that sky. There's a story from ancient India of a monk who was insulted in the marketplace. People spat at him, mocked him, threw stones. He neither argued nor fled. He simply looked at them with calm eyes and said, "Thank you for offering me what is yours, but I choose not to accept it." The crowd fell silent. What could they do? A gift unaccepted returns to its giver. You can practice this too. When someone tries to hand you anger, fear, or manipulation, remember you are not obliged to receive it. Breathe. Let it fall at your feet like a stone you choose not to pick up. A helpful exercise before reacting: take one conscious breath and ask, what is this moment truly asking of me? Most situations ask only for awareness, not reaction. That single breath changes the quality of your life. It's a bridge from impulse to intention, from chaos to clarity. It will not be perfect at first. You will still get pulled into arguments, caught by pride, or swept by fear. But notice how every time you pause, even for a heartbeat, something changes. That small act of noticing is evolution. Every pause plants a seed of peace. And those seeds over time grow into an inner forest where no storm can uproot you. Consider a mountain during a storm. Lightning splits the sky. Rain lashes its slopes, yet the mountain remains. The wind may tear at its surface, but the stone heart beneath does not tremble. The mountain doesn't stop the storm, it outlasts it. Be that mountain. The storm will pass. Your groundedness will remain. When you stop reacting, people around you may not understand. They might mistake your calm for coldness, your silence for surrender. Let them. You are not responsible for their interpretations. Your task is to stay anchored. A tree does not explain to the forest why it no longer sways with every breeze. It simply grows deeper roots. In this practice, you'll discover something miraculous. Silence begins to speak. The quieter your reactions, the clearer your intuition. You start hearing the subtle language of the moment, the body's wisdom, the heart's whisper, the guidance that was drowned out by noise. It's not that life becomes easier, it's that you stop adding resistance to it. Try setting a daily ritual of stillness. Sit for 10 minutes in the morning before the world wakes. No phone, no noise. Watch your thoughts drift like clouds. Don't chase them, don't judge them. If one hooks you, gently release it, like untying a knot in water. This is not doing nothing. It's doing everything differently. Soon, you'll begin to notice patterns, which emotions visit you most often, which words trigger your defenses, which fears steal your breath. Awareness will reveal the architecture of your reactions, and when you see the structure, you gain the power to rebuild it. The mind, when untrained, is like a child holding a sword, quick to strike unaware of its own danger. But through mindfulness, the sword becomes a tool for clarity. You learn to respond rather than react, to cut through illusion instead of wounding yourself with it. It's said that when a Zen master is insulted, he bows, not out of submission, but out of freedom. The bow says, "You cannot touch what I am bowing from." The insult hits the surface. The essence stays untouched. That's emotional invincibility, not by armor, but by openness. When you're no longer reactive, you're no longer programmable. No one can control you through anger, praise, or fear. You become sovereign over your energy. That's what true liberation feels like. Tonight, before sleep, replay one moment from your day where you reacted impulsively. See it again, but slower this time. Breathe into it. Imagine how it might unfold if you had paused, listened, and responded from stillness. You're not doing this to feel guilt, but to train vision, to rehearse peace. The next time a similar storm arises, your heart will remember this rehearsal, and it will choose stillness without effort. When you live this way, something subtle but profound happens. The world no longer dictates your mood. A harsh word loses its venom. A delay loses its weight. You stop being a puppet pulled by every circumstance. You become instead the hand that guides the strings of your own attention. This is the first taste of real freedom, the peace of being untouched by the noise yet fully alive within it. Next, we'll explore the mind behind the storm, the thoughts that whisper false stories and keep you chained, and how to step beyond them into the vast sky of awareness that was always yours. Close your eyes for a moment. Listen carefully. There's a constant murmur in the background. Words, images, arguments, memories, plans. The voice that never sleeps. Sometimes it praises you. Sometimes it criticizes you. Sometimes it simply repeats the same old story like a broken record. This inner commentary feels so familiar that you mistake it for yourself. But here lies the deepest truth of mindfulness. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky behind the storm. Thoughts rise and fall like weather clouds, drifting sometimes dark and loud, sometimes soft and translucent. Yet we cling to each one as if it defines the horizon. We chase pleasant thoughts, we battle painful ones, and in the process, we forget the vastness that holds them all. When the storm rages, the sky doesn't disappear. It waits patient, unchanged. That is your true nature, unbroken awareness. Imagine sitting beside a river at dawn. The water rushes by, carrying leaves, twigs, and foam. Most people dive into the current, grabbing at each passing object, dragged downstream by their own thoughts. The wise one sits on the bank, watching the river flow, knowing that nothing passing through the mind has to be seized. That's meditation, not stopping the river, but remembering you are not the water. Thoughts are tools, not rulers. They are meant to serve awareness, not enslave it. Yet because we identify with them, I am sad, I am angry, I am broken. We suffer their every swing. The Buddha compared the mind to a monkey, jumping from branch to branch, restless and noisy. But inside, even the wildest monkey is the capacity for stillness the moment it stops. The forest becomes silent. Try this practice whenever a painful thought arises. Don't resist it. Don't argue with it. Simply label it. Say silently thinking, judging, remembering, or fearing. The labeling creates distance, a space wide enough for peace to enter. You begin to see that thoughts are just mental weather, not destiny. Once a student asked a Zen master, "How do I stop my thoughts?" The master smiled and said, "Can you stop the wind from blowing?" The student frowned. "Then how do I find peace?" The master pointed to a flag fluttering above them. Notice not the wind, not the flag, but the emptiness in which both move. The student bowed. That emptiness, spacious awareness, is the part of you that thoughts can never touch. It's the still lake beneath the ripples, the silence between the notes, the watcher behind the watching. The practice of mindfulness is not about clearing your mind. It's about recognizing the mind's nature, transient, impermanent, and often untrue. Because most thoughts aren't facts. They are echoes, fragments of conditioning, old fears, borrowed opinions. You're not good enough. You always fail. They don't like you. None of these sentences come from truth. They are like graffiti on the walls of your consciousness. You don't need to scrub the walls clean. You just need to stop reading them aloud. The next time a harsh thought appears, try asking it, "Is this helping me?" Not, "Is this true truth?" is often subjective, but is this useful? Most of the time it's not. That question itself begins the process of freedom. Let's use an image. Your mind is a vast sky. Thoughts are clouds, sometimes bright, sometimes heavy with rain. Emotions are thunder and lightning, but awareness is the open expanse that allows them to exist. The clouds never stain the sky. The thunder never breaks it. When you realize this, even the storm becomes sacred. You no longer resist it. You watch it pass, knowing that beyond every cloud, the blue is waiting. Here's another practice when anxiety comes. Imagine it as a guest arriving at your door. Instead of slamming the door shut, open it. Offer it tea. Watch it sit awkwardly, unsure what to do with your hospitality. The moment you stop fighting it, its power fades. You don't overcome anxiety by force. You dissolve it with understanding. The Buddha said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." Every thought resisted grows louder. Every thought accepted quiets naturally. It's like trying to hold a ball underwater. The more you push it down, the harder it bursts up. But if you let it float, it drifts peacefully on the surface. Understanding this changes everything. You no longer spend hours arguing with your mind. You begin to treat thoughts like weather reports, informative, sometimes inaccurate, never personal. Rain today doesn't mean rain forever. A passing storm doesn't mean the sky is broken. You can even start to smile at your mind's theatrics. When it tells dramatic stories, they forgot you because you're unimportant. Everything will fall apart. Bow to it kindly. Say, "Thank you, old friend, for trying to protect me." Then return to the breath, to the direct experience of this moment. Awareness is always one breath away. Every inhale is a homecoming. Every exhale is a letting go. The storm passes through you, not around you. And when it clears, you find yourself standing in the same sky that was always there, infinite, luminous, untouched. When you stop believing every thought space opens in your life, you stop reacting from old stories. You stop chasing phantom fears. You stop needing to defend an identity built from words in your head. What replaces it is presence, silent, alive, and real. This doesn't mean you suppress thinking. The mind will think as the heart will beat. It means you learn to coexist with it without confusion. You let thoughts pass like birds across your vision. Some you notice, none you chase. And slowly, as this practice deepens, something profound happens. Compassion arises. When you see your thoughts as passing weather, you begin to see others the same way. You stop judging their storms because you recognize your own. You realize that everyone is doing their best beneath the noise of their minds. That recognition is love in its purest form. At the end of your day, when you lie in bed, try this meditation. Imagine your mind as the night sky. One by one, let each thought turn into a star, bright, distant, harmless. Watch them appear, flicker, and fade. Feel the vastness that holds them all. That vastness is you. Tomorrow we'll explore the next gate, breaking free from the need for approval, how to look into the mirror of stillness and finally recognize yourself without distortion. But for now, rest in this knowing you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that watches the weather and never gets wet. There is a moment in every seeker's journey when they stand before the mirror and see not a face, but 1,000 expectations staring back. Parents, teachers, lovers, strangers, all whispering versions of who you should be. And somewhere in that crowd, your own voice grows faint. The Buddha spoke often of mirrors. He said a mind unclouded reflects truth as still water reflects the moon. But the water of most hearts is stirred by the wind of opinion. Every compliment becomes a ripple, every criticism a wave. The image you see in that mirror keeps changing, and you spend a lifetime trying to polish a reflection that isn't yours. Imagine a lake hidden deep in a mountain valley. Travelers arrive one by one. Some throw flowers, some stones, some coins for luck. Each gesture disturbs the surface. Each intent claims a little ownership. One evening, a monk comes and does nothing. He sits until twilight, watching the last ripples fade. When the stars appear, the lake reflects them perfectly. The monk smiles. Now the sky can see itself. That is what happens when you stop living for approval. Life begins to recognize itself through you. Approval is a hunger with no stomach. The more you feed it, the emptier you feel. Society trains this hunger early. It rewards compliance, punishes difference, praises the mask, and forgets the face beneath it. We learn to measure our worth by applause, to sculpt our personalities around what pleases the crowd. But applause is an echo. It fades as soon as it's heard. If your peace depends on that sound, silence will terrify you. Try this small rebellion pause before you answer a compliment or an insult. Notice the same heartbeat behind both. Praise inflates, blame deflates. But the air inside the balloon is always the same. Your value doesn't rise or fall with opinion. Only your belief does. A painter once spent years perfecting a mural on the wall of a temple. When he finished, the villagers gathered to admire it. Some gasped in awe, others criticized the colors. The painter listened for a while, then took a brush, dipped it in white, and erased the entire work. The crowd shouted in protest. He bowed and said, "If their eyes can destroy my joy, I never painted for truth." Then he began again, slower, quieter. Detachment made his art immortal. To free yourself from approval, you must first see the transaction you've been making, trading authenticity for acceptance. Every time you censor your truth to be liked, you pay with a piece of your peace. Every time you shrink to fit another's comfort, you exile your soul. Freedom begins when the exchange ends. Ask yourself gently, whose opinion still governs my mood? Write down their names if you must. Then write this beside each: I release you from defining me, not as an act of defiance, but as forgiveness for them and for yourself. They cannot see you clearly while you are still trying to please them. When you no longer chase approval, your actions become cleaner. You speak because something is true, not because it will be praised. You help because compassion arises, not because it will be noticed. The energy shifts from performance to presence. You begin to live like a tree offering shade, without asking who sits beneath it. Of course, the ego will resist. It thrives on feedback. It will whisper, "But what if they stop loving you?" Smile at that voice. Love that depends on performance was never love. It was barter. Real love recognizes itself without applause. Practice this stand before a mirror once a week. Look without adjusting your expression. Don't perform warmth or confidence. Simply meet your gaze until the surface quiets. Ask softly, "Who is looking?" Keep asking until the question dissolves into silence. In that silence, you'll meet the one who never needed approval in the first place. There will still be moments when old habits return. You'll feel the pull to explain yourself, to prove, to polish. Catch it kindly. Awareness itself is the correction. Over time, the space between stimulus and response widens, and in that space, peace lives. One evening, you'll realize something astonishing. You no longer crave to be understood. You simply wish to be real, and reality once embraced draws the right people, like a quiet flame draws moths, not because it shouts, but because it shines. When the mirror of still water returns to calm, it reflects everything without distortion, the mountains, the stars, even the passing clouds, yet clings to none of them. That's how the liberated heart loves. Tomorrow, we'll explore the next movement of this freedom, how to say no without guilt, how boundaries born from compassion protect the peace you've rediscovered. For most of your life, you were praised for saying yes. Yes made you agreeable, dependable, safe. You learned that kindness meant availability, that love meant endurance, that peace meant pleasing. But slowly, quietly, the soul begins to ache beneath all those unspoken burdens. There comes a day when your body tightens before your mouth even forms the word yes, and that tension is your truth trying to speak. Buddhism teaches that compassion begins with clarity, not compliance. A heart without boundaries is like a garden without a fence. Everything enters sunshine and storm flowers and weeds, and soon the soil loses its strength. To protect your peace is not selfishness, it is stewardship. The fence is not there to shut life out. It's there to help beauty grow without being trampled. Imagine a woman walking through a marketplace at dawn. She carries a bowl filled with water for an altar offering. As she moves, people bump against her, jostling, asking for her attention. Each collision spills a little water until the bowl is half empty before she reaches the temple. She kneels, looks at what remains, and whispers, "I have given it all away," without knowing to whom. The next morning she walks again, but this time she cups her hands over the bowl. The same crowd, the same path, yet she arrives full. Nothing changed except the way she carried herself. That is the power of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are awareness in action. They say, "This much I can give with love, and beyond this, I must rest." When the Buddha spoke of the middle way, he meant balance, neither indulgence nor deprivation. Boundaries are the middle way of love. They prevent compassion from turning into exhaustion, generosity into resentment. To practice sacred boundaries, begin with honesty. Before agreeing to any request, pause and ask, does this arise from genuine willingness or from fear of rejection? If the answer is fear, breathe before you respond. Fear-driven yeses are the seeds of hidden anger. Love-driven no's are the seeds of enduring peace. Try saying no as softly as wind moving through bamboo. It doesn't break, it bends. No spoken from awareness is not harsh, it's clear. It doesn't shut the door. It simply directs energy where it belongs. When someone presses against your limit, remember their discomfort does not mean you are wrong. Their reaction belongs to them. Yours belongs to you. There's a parable from Japan about a monk who carried a small candle wherever he went. Villagers often asked him to light their torches, and he always did. One night, A man followed him endlessly, asking for more and more light for others, never tending his own candle. Finally, the monk stopped, shielded his flame, and said, "If I give away my last light, who will guide the way home?" That lesson glows quietly across centuries. The light you guard is the light that guides. You can create simple rituals to strengthen this practice. Each morning before the world begins to pull at you, place a hand over your heart and say, "May I give from fullness, not fatigue. May I protect the quiet that nourishes all I share." Visualize your energy as a small pond. Every time you say yes, a cup is drawn from it. Every time you rest or say no, rain returns. Give, but make sure it rains. In truth, saying no is an act of deep trust that love will not vanish when you honor your limit. Trust that silence can hold connection. Trust that your worth is not tied to constant availability. You are not sunlight meant to shine 24 hours a day. Even the sun sets so the stars can breathe. People who rely on your endless yes may resist your boundaries at first. They will test them. Guilt you call you changed. Smile gently. They are simply adjusting to your new language of self-respect. A boundary is not a rejection of them. It's an affirmation of balance. It teaches others how to meet you in peace rather than in depletion. There's a beautiful image from Zen tradition, a bell, and the empty space around it. The bell's music is born not from the metal alone, but from the emptiness that allows it to vibrate freely. Your boundaries create that space. They give your life rhythm, sound, and silence, offering and rest. Without the space of no, your yes loses its song. Try this reflection tonight. Write down 3 moments this week when you said yes, but meant no. Then beside each, write how it felt in your body. A tightening, a sigh, a dull ache. That's the language of your truth. Now write one situation where you said no and felt relief. That's your soul exhaling. Learn the difference by sensation, not judgment. The body is often wiser than the mind in matters of peace. The next time guilt arises after setting a boundary, place a hand over your chest and whisper, "It's okay to protect the life that breathes through me." Guilt is simply the echo of old conditioning fading away. Let it fade. Let it be replaced by the soft hum of integrity. Soon, you'll notice something extraordinary. Your yes becomes radiant again, unforced, generous, alive. Your giving comes from overflow, not obligation. You stop scattering your light and start sharing it deliberately. People will feel the difference. Your presence will carry a new clarity, like fresh air after rain. A compassionate no is a form of love for yourself, for truth, for those who must learn to find their own strength instead of leaning on yours. In time, they may thank you, but even if they don't, your heart will. When you learn to say no with grace, you reclaim your time, your energy, your serenity. You begin to move through life like a river, flowing where the channel is clear, pausing where it narrows, never fighting the banks that give it form. Tomorrow, we'll explore the next teaching, how to release attachment to results, the quiet art of planting seeds and letting go of the harvest. For now, breathe into this freedom. You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. There is a subtle moment in every effort when your hands must open. You've planted, watered, tended, and still the outcome wavers beyond reach. The mind whispers, "If I just try harder, push longer, plan better, I can make this bloom." But the truth is gentler. More humbling growth is a dialogue, not a demand. You can invite life to flourish. You cannot command it to. In Buddhism, this teaching is called karma vipaka, action and fruition. You are responsible only for the action, never the fruit. The fruit ripens according to the weather of the universe unseen, causes hidden timings, converging threads of other lives. Trying to force results before their time is like tugging a sprout to make it taller. The more you pull, the more you uproot. Imagine a farmer standing in a wide field. All spring she worked with devotion, tilling the earth, planting rows of seeds, praying for good rain. When summer comes, she visits the field daily. Sometimes clouds linger, sometimes drought cracks the soil. Yet she doesn't dig up her seeds each dawn to check their progress. She knows faith is also a kind of labor. Her patience is her partnership with nature. That's the wisdom the modern heart forgets. Patience is participation. To wait without anxiety is not doing nothing. It is aligning with the rhythm of life itself. Our culture worships results. We measure worth by outcomes, by how quickly we succeed, how visibly we triumph. But the Dharma teaches a quieter arithmetic. The value of your action lies not in the harvest, but in the purity of your intention. To act mindfully, to give your full heart to the moment, and then to release. This is true mastery. Consider the archer. His focus must be absolute as he draws the bow anchors, the string steadies his breath. But once the arrow leaves his fingers, his control ends. If he obsesses over where it will land, his next shot will tremble. Skill deepens when he learns to let the arrow go, to trust the air to complete what his precision began. The same law applies to love, to work, to healing. You offer your sincerity, your patience, your best effort. Then you bow to uncertainty. That bow is not defeat. It is reverence for a universe too vast for possession. Try this small practice. When you finish a task, whisper softly, "May this unfold as it must," then walk away. Resist the urge to check, to measure, to anticipate. Each time you do, notice how your breath loosens. Freedom hides inside that exhale. There is a Chinese proverb: "The green reed which bends in the wind is stronger than the mighty oak which breaks in a storm." The reed's strength is its surrender. The oak resists what it cannot control. The reed flows with it and survives. Think of a sculptor chiseling stone. She doesn't argue with the marble about what shape it should take. She listens. With each strike, she watches how the stone responds. She participates in revelation rather than imposition. You too are both sculptor and sculpture, shaping life while being shaped by it. Letting go of results doesn't mean apathy. It means loving the process so completely that the outcome loses its grip on your joy. When you paint for painting's sake, every stroke is a victory. When you write for the pleasure of expression, each word is enough. The miracle lies in the doing, not in the applause. Ask yourself, what if the journey itself is the harvest? What if every moment of care, every breath of patience, every act of perseverance is the reward? There's a tale of two monks tending a garden. The younger one kept glancing at the sky, anxious for rain. The elder simply kept sweeping the paths. Finally, the younger cried out, "When will the rain come?" The elder smiled and said, "When the clouds are ready, not when we are thirsty." The boy fell silent, realizing that nature has its own calendar, one the heart must learn to read. In your own life, trust that calendar. Some dreams bloom late, not because you are unworthy, but because their soil is still ripening. Some relationships end not because you failed, but because their season has passed. Every ending fertilizes the next beginning. When anxiety about the future tightens your chest, return to this question: what can I honor in this moment? Maybe it's the effort, maybe the lesson, maybe the breath that reminds you you're still here. Focus on that, and the noise of outcome begins to fade. Try a ritual at night. Before sleeping, recall one thing you worked for today, then say quietly, "I release this to its timing." May it unfold in harmony with truth. Visualize the effort floating into the air like a lantern, its light rising higher as you let it go. Tomorrow, new wind will carry it where it belongs. Letting go of the harvest also transforms your relationship with failure. You see that so-called failure is simply unripe fruit, not rejection, but delay. Some seeds rest longer underground. Some flowers bloom only at dusk. Life has infinite patience. Can you mirror it? As this trust deepens, peace arrives not as a surprise, but as a companion. You begin to move through uncertainty with quiet confidence, knowing that control was never your task. Participation was. When you live this way, every day becomes its own reward. The smallest act, sweeping writing, comforting a friend, becomes sacred, complete in itself. You stop measuring life by milestones and start experiencing it by moments. And when the harvest finally comes, you receive it not with desperation, but with gratitude. You bow, you smile, and you continue tending the field not to possess, but to participate in the endless rhythm of giving and release. Tomorrow, we'll walk one final path in this journey, the silent exit. How to walk away from what drains you without anger, without regret, and find your way home to stillness. For now, breathe in faith, breathe out control. The season knows its time. There are battles in life you are meant to fight, and others you are meant to leave behind. The tragedy is that we rarely know the difference until our strength is nearly gone. We keep pouring energy into what no longer grows, believing endurance equals virtue. But not every struggle is sacred. Some things ask to be released, not repaired. There comes a day when you realize that peace is not found in fixing the noise, but in walking away from it. That step, the quiet turning, is one of the highest forms of wisdom. It is not the flight of cowardice. It is the journey of clarity. Picture this, a traveler crossing a desert at dusk. Behind him, a campfire sputters smoke curling into the fading sky. He's been trying to keep that fire alive for days, feeding it scraps of wood, shielding it from wind, whispering prayers over its dwindling flame. Now, finally, he understands the fire was never meant to burn forever. He stands, brushes the sand from his palms, and walks toward the horizon. Each step forward reveals more stars. The darkness that once frightened him becomes a field of light. That is what it feels like to walk away from what drains you, the end of one light and the beginning of countless others. In Buddhist teaching, this is upekkha, equanimity, the art of letting things be as they are without resistance or resentment. When something or someone continuously steals your peace, the most compassionate act is to release them. Staying in what constantly diminishes you is not loyalty. It's forgetfulness of your own sacredness. But how do you leave quietly without bitterness, without guilt? It begins with a truth both simple and liberating. Not all fires need your tending. Some relationships survive only on your constant effort, like a plant kept alive by artificial light. Some workplaces, friendships, even inner habits have become deserts where nothing new grows. The moment you stop feeding them, they reveal their true nature, empty of reciprocity, hollow of warmth. That revelation isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You do not owe anyone your burnout. You do not owe any situation your perpetual participation. The Buddha said, If a house is burning, the wise do not stay to debate the cause, they walk out. The fire does not care if you understand it. It simply consumes. Leaving, however, is not an act of aggression. The true exit is silent. No accusations, no grand speeches, no slammed doors. It is the quiet decision to stop giving energy where it is wasted. You simply turn inward, breathe, and let the world adjust to your absence. Imagine a forest in late autumn. Leaves have begun to fall. The tree does not beg them to stay, does not mourn the branches growing bare. It understands the rhythm to lose is also to prepare. Without shedding, there can be no spring. The tree knows that stillness feeds roots better than clinging ever could. So must you. Walking away doesn't always mean physical departure. Sometimes it means emotional release, unhooking your mind from endless replay, your heart from people who thrive on your reaction. You can walk away while sitting still by refusing to return to the same argument in your head. Try this reflection. When something drains, you pause and ask, if I stop engaging, what will happen? Usually the answer is nothing at all. The world continues. The storm you feared losing control over often collapses once you withdraw your attention. Like a flame starved of oxygen, drama dies without your participation. You can practice walking away in small ways first. When gossip begins, stay silent. When your phone vibrates with yet another demand for explanation, wait before replying. Watch how silence reclaims your strength. Every unspoken word becomes a drop of calm returning to your reservoir. People may call your silence strange. Let them. Silence is the most articulate language of self-respect. You are not required to translate your peace for those who refuse to hear it. The beauty of a silent exit is that it leaves space for transformation. When you withdraw without malice, you allow healing on both sides. You stop fueling conflict, and the other is left to meet their own reflection. This is compassion without sacrifice. Think of the moon. It doesn't argue with the tide. It simply moves on its path. The tide adjusts naturally. When you step back from chaos, the universe reorganizes itself around your stillness. When guilt whispers, "But they'll think you're selfish," answer kindly, "I am simply choosing to water where life still grows." Remember, boundaries are not walls. They're channels that guide energy where it can bloom. Walking away creates those channels. Before you go, bless what you're leaving behind. Whisper, "May you find what you need. May I walk in peace." Then close that chapter gently. Closure is not about explaining. It's about exhaling. There's a Tibetan saying, "Don't try to move the mountain. Move yourself and the mountain changes places." When you walk away from chaos, chaos loses its meaning. You become the still point around which everything recalibrates. Sometimes the hardest part is the emptiness afterward, the silence where noise used to be. Don't rush to fill it. That silence is sacred ground. In it, you'll begin to hear the sound of your own life again, the faint rhythm of your heart, the steady whisper of your breath. This is what home feels like, not a place, but an inner climate. In time, you'll look back and realize that walking away wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning of your truth. You will understand that peace was never waiting somewhere out there. It was the quiet voice inside you, saying, "Enough." And when that voice finally becomes your compass, you stop wandering. You stop chasing closure from others and start building sanctuary within yourself. You become both traveler and destination, the one who leaves and the one who welcomes yourself home. As you rest in that peace, the world softens. old wounds lose their sharpness. Even those who hurt you begin to appear not as villains, but as teachers who pointed the way toward freedom. Gratitude replaces bitterness. Stillness replaces striving. Love freed from attachment becomes compassion again. This is the art of the silent exit, leaving not to escape, but to return. Returning not to isolation, but to wholeness. Breathe now. You've reached the end of this journey, not as someone who ran away, but as someone who walked back to where you always belonged. The next breath is your beginning.